today. Gonna learn something today. How's everybody doing? What's going on, Florida? Florida man? Okay, let's see. No audio right now. Good, we're good. Okay. All right. What is up, everybody? If you notice, oh, there's the camera right there. If you noticed, I have a little bit of a change to the room, and I've done something when it comes to color grading. I've never really messed with it. This is something that I just did a podcast with Chase on Two Wheels, and his footage, like he shot he gave me extra footage on the side, so I'm not using webcam footage. No way. He shot 4K, like 24 frames per second for like the full hour and a half that we were doing a podcast, and it is insane. And it's not just the 4K, it's that he did good color grading, he had good lighting. So I was like, you know what, I gotta do a little bit of that too. So I got some lights going on, and I got the white balance down a little bit, so we're working on it. It's not gonna be the absolute best because it's gonna be streamed, so the bit rate's gonna be a little bit different. But I'm super excited about the podcast with Chase on Two Wheels. If you guys don't know, I have a Walterific podcast going up tomorrow. So that's a little, typically it's on Mondays, but it's going to be tomorrow. So anyways, guys, today, I know we're just jumping in. Today we're going to be talking about should lane splitting be legal? So lane splitting, lane filtering, all those different things. As you can tell, we have some motorcycle crash stats down here, and this is from the Arizona Department of Transportation. And this was brought up. This is the biggest thing. So I'm looking at this screen. I'm changing things up because I'm going to get a new desk, and this is pretty much what the back end's going to look like. So I got to decorate all that. This got brought up from a Facebook group that I'm a part of. Okay, so the reason why I brought this up and I want to talk about it is because I was pretty passionate about it, because this is in state of Arizona. They're going to be passing, or they're attempting to be passing, a lane filtering bill. It's HB 2248. And it's going to be in there. But the reason why I got brought up here is because part of this group, somebody, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but I'm going to name the organization. They said, and they stated, this is a statement, and I wasn't okay with it. I wasn't okay with the statement. So what the statement was, let me go ahead and move this over so I don't lose you guys, because I see the chat. So once again, guys, if you want to chat on today, on Thursdays, it's members only chat. We're going to do the accident scene analysis stuff. On Tuesdays and stuff, we're gonna tackle a topic that is about safety on Thursdays, and I want to be able to give the perks, a new perk to YouTube members. So if you want to become a YouTube member, click that join button or click that link that I have up in the chat. It would really help. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And what he said was, let me see if I can copy and paste it so you guys can read it instead of having to hear. Let's see. So I'm gonna copy and paste it in the chat. It's too big. It's too big. So yeah, I'll just read it. So he said, 31% of all motorcycle crashes are from being rear-ended, and a majority of these end up with serious or fatal injuries. Each of these have a period, so it's a statement. This is the sole reason for HB 2248 lane filtering bill introduced by Representative Noel Campbell. Lane filtering can reduce cars rear-ending motorcyclists. This guy said, heading to the Capitol for a stakeholder meeting today about this legislation. Fighting for our rights means fighting to keep us safe as well. I love my job as the legislative director of ABAT. So that's I forgot what it's called, but it's an educational thing. It's for rights of motorcyclists. So I'm assuming, I'm not assuming, there's one of Arizona and there's one of everywhere else. Anyways, he's a designated lobbyist for the Mountain Motorcycle Association of Arizona. Yes, I represent both organizations at the state capitol. Are you a member of a motorcycle rights organization? $25 a year to support the cause. Go to blank to join. Okay, so I saw this, and as somebody that has done a lot of research on why, how, when, and everything when it comes to motorcycle crashes, I saw that 31% of all motorcycle crashes are being rear-ended, and I was like, no, because I've done the research that 90+% is the motorcyclist striking. Now that's a nationwide statistic, so I'm thinking, okay, well maybe Arizona it's different. So I did my research, I looked it all up, and this is what we're doing. We're looking at the research right here. So I'll just go ahead and maximize this. Totally agree. Lane splitting, not ideal, but better than die or severely injured by rear end. So yeah, I agree with that. I do agree that lane filtering will reduce that risk. It will reduce that rear ending of a risk. and it will also help out with congestion. And my biggest argument for lane filtering is the congestion thing, because at the end of the day, I truly believe if you position yourself at the stoplight or stop sign, it will reduce your rear end the stats quite a bit. So if we look at this, I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, that's too much. There we go. So if I do this, okay, so this is what page is this? 58. So page 58. This is from the 2018 Motor Vehicle Crash Facts for the state of Arizona, and this was published June 18, 2019. And I looked at the 2017, and I tried to find some. We're at page 58, because this does involve pedestrians, cars, tractor trailers, all these other things. But we're gonna go down to what's pertinent to us, and that's motorcycle crashes. Okay, so total crashes in all of Arizona in 2019 was 127,056. Now I'm gonna get to the meat and potatoes of this, guys. Don't worry about it. So all those crashes, I mean, 2.15% of those crashes in the state of Arizona was motorcycle crashes. So that's what we're gonna be focusing on. 150 of them were fatal, basically 5.5%. 2,110 were injury crashes. 75 or 77.6, and so you're gonna see PDO quite a bit, and that's property damage only. So it's just gonna be like you drop the bike or it crashed into a pole, causing there's no injury to the person. It's just gonna be an injury to the bike or everything else. And then it kind of breaks down even more. So fatal crashes in the urban area, and this is the type of stuff I research, guys. This is how I dictate how I coach and how I talk to you guys. Is I'm trying to find out what causes the most stuff, what causes the most crashes, what's going on here. So we can kind of go through a little bit of that, but I want to scroll down a little bit more. And this is what I was getting a little bit frustrated with, that 31% of motorcycle crashes are from being rear-ended. I don't believe that is the case. Oh yeah, and that's another thing, LXP Rider, is that out of the 2,738, 2,110. So the only time that there's like no injury to the person is less than 20%. So you have less than a 1 in 5 chance of not being injured in a motorcycle crash, and that is huge. And it does go into some more stuff. So right here, collision with a motor vehicle transport. So that is a collision with another vehicle. Okay, so overturning, that is going to be that is the curve. So overturning is not doing enough turning in a curve. So this is a curve crash. The overturning is a curve crash, and that's usually solo. So then we start jumping into all these different things, vehicle explosion, fixed object, collision with a fixed object. That's going to be like a guardrail or a wall. Non-fixed object, that includes parked vehicles, trains, railway vehicles, and work zone equipment. Okay. So it also goes down into daylight, dawn, dusk, all those different things. This is absolutely why I love stats, is because I pay attention to this, and then it lets me know what I need to focus on when I talk to you guys. So dark, lighted, so that's going to be an urban area with lights, but at nighttime. Not lighted, that's going to be out in rural areas with no lights. Unknown lighting, that's just they don't know. So most of the time it's going to be at nighttime with urban lighting. So that means nighttime crashes is going to be the biggest thing. But daylight, I mean, obviously a lot of us ride, most of it's at daytime. So if you notice, so 80 fatal during the day, 43 fatal at dark, and it's lighted. So greater chance of a fatal accident at night in town. So think about that. So that's why I talk about those. Dry surfaces, all that stuff. But we're going to go down to the meat and potatoes on this one. Okay, so total crashes, urban area, rural, fatal crashes, injury crashes, all those things. And it goes by age, so I also worry about age. It also goes by alcohol. A lot of the fatal crashes involve alcohol, even though it's a small percentage of total crashes. So think about that too. Let's keep going down a little bit more. So by gender, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Operators and passengers killed and injured. Okay. So this right here, type of violation or behavior. So this is one of those things that I really look into. Speed too fast for conditions is going to be the biggest thing. No improper action. Now that we can dive in a little bit more. What is improper versus proper? But speed too fast definitely is going to be a huge cause for crashes, and it's going to be a higher representation of fatal crashes. So let's keep going. I know we're going to get to the lane splitting, guys. But this is what really bothered me. It goes by time and date, type of area. Okay, here we go. So manner of collision type. This is what this is why I just knew like what he said was wrong. But the information, just how you do it all together, I know where he was coming from. So if we just look right here, rear end, 31.21% percentage of all crashes. Okay, I get that. So percentage of all crashes, 31.21% of being rear-ended. That's a pretty big number. That's a 1 in 3 chance of getting rear-ended, and hopefully lane filtering is going to solve that problem. But this is 31.21, so let's just say 31% of all collisions with other vehicles. Okay, if you notice this, look at this. Look at this. Manner of collision type. So angular hit, a left turn rider or left turn car, a rear end, head on, side swipe, U-turn, other unknown. And if you notice, look at this. That's not the same number. 1,711. 1,711. Oh, this happened. See, one fatal right here. So you don't necessarily die from a U-turn. It's that these 6 people did a U-turn and were hit by another vehicle, or they hit another vehicle, and one of those died. So that sucks. But this is with a motorcycle versus another vehicle. So 1,711 total crashes. That doesn't make sense because we already saw, if we scroll up, the total amount of crashes that in 2019 that happened was 2,738. So I'm starting to think, like, why is this not working here? Let's go ahead and scroll down just a little bit more. Type of no, we already passed that. We're past that. There's just a lot of information that I scroll through for you guys. So I did the math, and I'm not gonna go over the math right now. I already wrote a response to this. I put 31% of all multi-vehicle accidents are rear-end accidents. Multi-vehicle accidents account for 50% of all motorcycle accidents. And I put, so 31% isn't the right number for all motorcycle crashes. I hope you're not going to the state legislator with that number. And that's, what's up, Mark? How you doing? So that's what I was talking about. That's what I was getting at, is that let's not, I was trying to tell him, hey, let's not go into the state legislator with that number because you're going to get picked apart. And I personally want lane filtering or lane splitting to be legal for certain reasons. So I also put, he put, that's the stats I gave them from 2018 to 2019. Okay. So I understand, but at 31% of all crashes are not from rear end impacts. Multi-vehicle crashes are 50% of the crashes, and 30% of those are rear end. So rear end collisions accounted for 534 crashes out of 2,738 total motorcycle crashes in the year 2018. That is only 19% out of the 150 total fatalities in 2018. 7% rear end collisions. So 7% of all the fatalities, okay? So 7% of all of them was, 7% of all fatalities of anything for motorcyclists was rear end. 19% was out of those 2 vehicle accidents rear ending. So the whole 30%, 31% thing is not representative. And what I didn't like was that they're asking for donations to continue on with this. So if I'm going to have a representative of me, I want them to have the correct information. So that's why I brought it up. And I just wanted to bring that up with you guys because when it comes to motorcycle crashes, what should we be focusing on here? When it comes to what's killing motorcyclists, what's causing injuries to motorcyclists, what's the biggest problem when it comes to motorcyclists, and how do we solve that with laws, or how do we solve that with awareness? Now, you can't do much. You can't do much when it comes to, let's go back down. You can't do much when it comes to telling people what to do. You really can't, okay? You really can't. And here it is. So there we go. I got the better information. Cameron Ferguson, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Welcome. Thank you for the support. You're allowed to chat now, I guess. But it's going to pop up on screen. I saw it before. It's popped up on screen. I appreciate it so much. So right here, this is what I look for. Like, this is the type of stuff. There it is. Welcome, man. So I look for this stuff right here. So I look for collision with motor vehicle in transport. Okay, so that's what that is. So 80% or 80 out of the 150. So 80 out of the 150 are fatal when it's collision with another vehicle. 22 fatalities when it's just overturning. So Either you are, I mean, I don't know why they put overturning. It should be over or under turning. It should just be cornering. So 22 are fatal when it comes to cornering. But then you see it's doubled basically when it comes to a fixed object. So for a fixed object, you got the fatalities. But how come, look at 671 overturning, 22 are fatal, but 601 are injury. 601. So if you look at this, all these totals, 15 to pedestrian, 13 injury. 7 with a pedal cyclist, so a bicyclist, 7 injury. 296 fixed object, 237 injury. So it's like 80 to 90% injury rate when there's a collision or a crash. It could be solo crashing, like overturning. So it's 80 to 90% collision, or 80 to 90% injury rate. That is huge. I'm all looking over here for the camera. That means we need to have full gear. So that's why I preach full gear, guys. All the gear all the time. Because if there is some type of harmful event, when there is a harmful event, you have a massive chance, 80 to 90% chance of being injured. And it doesn't even say severity of injury. The only thing it goes is injury and then fatal. So you can have life-altering injuries. You really can. A traumatic brain injury where you have no cognitive function, or you have a spinal injury where you have no use of certain limbs. So it doesn't even take that into account. It just talks about fatal. But it's crazy how easy it is to die and how easy it is to get injured. So when I look at that, that's what I focus on when it comes to what I want to train. I want to train you guys in cornering, and I want to train you guys with not to get into collision with a motor vehicle in transport. So that means while they're on the road, moving down the road. Fixed object, this one right here involves parked vehicles. So that's not one I focus on too much, because 78 out of the 2,738 are that. So I focus mainly on colliding with vehicles in transport, because that's 1,557 out of the 2,738 of 2019. So that's huge. That's huge. That's what I mean 2018. That's what I really focus on. Then I can go into more of these other things. But I'm very stat-based when it comes to what I want to train and how I want to train it. So suspected serious injury, I mean, we can go into these things, but this is with operator's helmet use, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that because ABAT, I don't know how it's pronounced, ABAT, Abate, whatever it is, they preach about freedom for the motorcyclist, and then we're trying to get donations to make sure that we're safer, but at the same time, Abate or ABAT or Abat, whatever, they are against motorcycle helmet laws. So this honestly could turn into an issue with ABATE, because that's kind of what I have. So helmet use, it does significantly decrease your chance of a fatality, but they're not pushing for that. They're pushing for lane filtering, and I think lane filtering based off of safety is not what we should be doing, because now we're asking as like children, can we have this privilege to lane filter? And we're trying to throw an argument as in it's going to save lives, when in reality it's not. It can, but it's not going to save the lives that we're saying it's going to save. It's not going to save 31% of all fatalities. It's not going to save 31% of all fatalities, because that's kind of what he's saying. If we look at the motorcycle operator violations, the one thing that's going to prevent a lot of these things is too fast, speed too fast for conditions. 38 fatalities, speed too fast. I mean, 23.9% of all fatalities in the state of Arizona, speed was too fast for the conditions, was the primary cause. So how do we prevent people from riding fast? It's very hard. It's hard to figure that out. It's very hard to figure that out. Thank you, man. Cameron, thank you. I saw that. Appreciate it so much. So how do we solve that problem? Well, that's a different problem for a different day. But follow too closely. That's something we talk about. Space cushion. 90 crashes, 2 of them are fatal. Huge. Failure to keep proper lane. That's going outside your lane when it comes to cornering a lot of the times. Definitely speed too fast added with failure to keep your lane. You see how all these types of behaviors, all these crash factors right here, this is what we should be focusing on, guys. Crash factors. These are all crash factors. These are all things that cause people to die. These are crash factors we need to focus on. This is what I talk about in the after action reviews. So if we go down even further, let's go down even further. This is by day of week also. So more fatalities on Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. And then this goes by time. But I don't really care too much. I used to live in Yuma. 6 fatalities last year. 6 fatalities last year. Maricopa County's Phoenix area, 85 fatalities last year. I'm in Pima County, 17. So where I ride, we have a very high chance of getting killed. But right here, this is kind of what I'm talking about here. So lane filtering. Sorry, I get distracted really easily. Lane filtering right here. So the rear end collisions. They account for 31% of all multi-vehicle crashes. And once again I said motorcycle crashes with another vehicle is about 50% of total crashes. So we start moving that number down, down, and down. But let's take a look at it. So rear end, yes, that is going to be the biggest type of, in the state of Arizona, that is going to be the biggest type of 2-vehicle crashes with a motorcycle. But you got left turn also. That's the one that we talk about a lot. Bradley, thank you so much for becoming a DDFM first responder. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for being there. Look at that. Boom, right there. It says newest YouTube member, and we're at the total YouTube members at 163. You know what? If we hit 200 YouTube members, I'll be doing I'll do a rock form giveaway, a rock form motorcycle mount giveaway. It might not happen today, but it might happen later. I wish we had the same entities pushing for legalizing lane splitting. Everybody does it. Police does not bother us. It's one of the reasons more and more people buy scooter and bikes. But in case of a collision, we are screwed. It is illegal. Yeah, and that's the thing is bicyclists do it all the time. Scooters do it all the time. I see it all the time. Motorcyclists are not allowed to do that. In the state of Arizona, we have that law on the books right now, and we'll jump more into that. But what I don't think. This whole rear end thing, it's not always at a stop sign. And this is the thing. We have to start when we dive into stats, it's not always at a stop sign. I had a DDFM crew member, Blade Holden. He's on the I don't know if you're watching this, man. I don't know if you're watching this, but he's been a very, very loyal and amazing dude. I went on a camp out with him during the DDFM camp out, which I'm going to be having again in May. I'm going to have it in May. I just got asked that by Connor on the Discord. But Blade Holden, he came down from Phoenix to ride with some other DDFM crew members, and I believe on the way out, he was rear-ended on the interstate. So he's going at a high rate of speed already, and the person that rear-ended him was going at even higher rate of speed. And that happens all the time. Happens on the interstate all the time between 2 vehicles, like 2 cars. But I've been noticing that a lot lately because I subscribe to crash stuff, like the news organizations, and I make sure I follow up on biker down type stuff. And a lot of times it's on the interstate. People are rear-ending motorcyclists at a high rate of speed because they just don't see the motorcyclist, and they're just traveling faster than traffic. So these rear-end stats, I want to see how many of these happened at a stop sign, and this is what I want to know, because is lane filtering safer for the motorcyclist for that? Because if we look at this right here, so side swipe, same. So that means we're in the same path of travel, same direction of travel. 15%. 15%. And then we have angle collision. So, I mean, I don't know what the angle is compared, like, I don't know why that's going to either be, I mean, I don't know, because left turn, that's almost an angle, because you're T-boning somebody, so maybe that's just a perpendicular type incident, left turn riding, but angle and side swipe are almost, to me, the same, and that's closer to 30%, but, like, how is it situated? Because when we're lane filtering, we're going to get side swiped. There's a greater chance of getting side swiped, and I've seen that in my after action reviews. I've seen that in my after action reviews that people getting side swiped while lane filtering happens all the time. And then it also happens when we have an open lane in front of us and the person decides to jump into our lane. So that's what I typically see. And I don't think lane filtering and lane splitting is going to solve a lot of these problems that a lot of people want to talk about. And we could see on like these very graphic videos of people getting rear-ended and all that stuff, and it's like, okay, now we should have lane filtering. But what is the real motivating factor for lane filtering and lane splitting for motorcyclists? We don't want to wait in line. I think that's very selfish. I think we need to be very, very open about that. Enigma for you. Oh, James Nana. James, are you James Nana? That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for becoming a first responder. Really appreciate it. Honestly, while I can save motorcycles from getting rear-ended, the biggest benefit is relieving congestion. The problem is regulating it, but anyone in big cities should be for it. Exactly, Enigma. And that's another thing. Big cities are going to get the greatest benefit out of lane filtering. So if you pass a law in the state of Arizona for lane filtering, only the bigger cities that are really going to benefit from that. And there's a reason why, if we scroll back up, and I know I'm getting distracted, but you guys are making this very fun for me. I love this. I love these Thursday chats because you guys, when you interact with me, it's like it's slow enough to where I can keep up. So, violation. What was I looking for? Oh, by county. Crash by county. Where is it at? So crash by county. So the reason why this is such a big number, Maricopa County, is because that incorporates Phoenix, and Phoenix is a giant It's not metropolis. That's Superman. It's a giant city. All right. So Maricopa County incorporates all of those cities that Phoenix has, and that's why that's a big number. Pima County incorporates a lot also, and that's Tucson area. And Tucson's one of the bigger cities in the state of Arizona. Yavapai, I don't know, I forgot exactly where they're at, but Yuma County is Yuma, Arizona, and all the outlying counties closer towards like Gila Bend and all that stuff. So these big ones, Pima and Maricopa, are really going to benefit. These bigger cities are really going to benefit, and hopefully it's going to reduce some of these crashes, but it's not going to reduce a lot. It's going to reduce a lot of congestion. Also, if you look at these things, why is motorcycle crashes at the end? You know what I mean? So that right there is a concern. There's a reason why it's at the end. After pedestrian. M for motorcycle comes before P for pedestrian. But why is motorcycling at the end? That shows you how important we are. But it's going to lower congestion. That's all. That's what it is at the end of the day. If we were pushing for lane filtering and lane splitting, it's to reduce congestion because we don't want to sit in line. It's not absolute safer. It's not. We just add different hazards to this. And the hazard that we're adding to it is possibly getting sideswiped in here. So now we're going to add more. So there's going to be a bigger percentage of total crashes to this. Look at this. To this. And if we want to talk about fatalities, I mean, 11.58% of fatalities for rear end is, 11 fatalities for rear end is 11.58% of the total crashes for rear end. You still got sideswipe, angular accidents, all that stuff. It's just a bigger number. Why are we tackling lane filtering, lane splitting? It's because we just don't want to sit in line. So should it be legal? Yes. All this right here. Tiger, how you doing, man? How you doing? Thank you so much, James Nana. Appreciate it. Being able to lane split played a lot in getting an AB bike. I live in LA, where traffic regularly gets backed up into the intersections for several blocks. Half of my work rides a bicycle to work. Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing is, am I for, thank you so much. There it is. It popped up. I am absolutely for lane filtering and lane splitting, but let's be honest with why we're doing that. Let's absolutely be honest with why we're doing that. It's not because we want to be safer. It's because we want to jump in line. So we cannot sell that to state legislator or the state legislation. We just can't do that. There's not going to be a federal lane filtering law because traffic laws are situated per state. So that's why you see all these different states trying to copy now Utah, because Utah passed the law with stipulations, and the Arizona state one. Let's go ahead and get out of this. The Arizona state one is a direct copy, basically. So this is from Right Apart. This actually came out today. So, and this kind of gave me the idea. It's like lane splitting. So where is it, and isn't it legal? So this right here is the United States in terms of what's legal, what's not. So red states, lane splitting and filtering are specifically illegal. So if you're in one of these red states, it is specifically illegal. Orange, a bill to legalize lane splitting or filtering is being considered, but the practice remains specifically illegal. So any orange state, so all these orange states, including Arizona, It is specifically illegal, but there's a bill to lane split. Yellow, lane filtering, or shoulder surfing are legal. So Utah and Hawaii. So in Hawaii, I believe it's mainly just to be on the shoulder. Shoulder surfing is the main thing in Hawaii. So green, lane splitting is specifically illegal. So this is what it's specifically illegal now. Okay. So this is in Utah and Hawaii, it's legal, but in California they say no, this is specifically illegal. So that's a huge difference. That's why it's not yellow. Gray states lane splitting is not specifically illegal, but neither is it legal. It is up to the discretion of local law enforcement. So you're actually playing a big gamble when it comes to that, and that's all these gray states. But that's why it's all different, because each state does their own thing. But if we are going to be one of these red states or one of these orange states or one of these gray states, and we want to push for legalization of motorcycle lane filtering or lane splitting, we cannot go to these legislations and we cannot go to these lawmakers and say, hey, we want to do it because it's safer for motorcyclists. I think we all understand that motorcyclists do make a large part of all fatalities and injuries per motorcycle, or I mean, sorry, per motorcycle or motor vehicle crashes. There we go. We make a large part of that. We're 28 times more likely to die and then 30 something more times likely to be injured in a crash comparatively to other vehicles, but they don't care because we only make up 6 to 9% of all motor vehicles traveled per mile on the roadways. So they're not going to make these crazy laws that are going to affect the other 80 to 90%, which are cars, to allow us to do something. And we're just over here saying, "Oh, it's safer for us." You know, that's not what we're doing here. That's not what we should do. What we should be doing is fighting for the fact that this is going to reduce congestion. It's going to reduce time for people to get to work and to and from work, to and from whatever they need to do. It's going to produce more, because if the people get to work, they're less time on the interstate or on the roadways. So that's less gas, which is going to bring down consumption. It's just going to be better. Congestion is massively bad for cars, and that's a lot of the reason why motorcyclists are getting into, or riders getting into motorcycling, is because, like you said, Enigma, is that it's going to be easier for you in LA specifically because you can lane filter. So we need to come at this from a different point of view, different everything. Is that we need to educate our riders. First, like, if we want to pass a law for lane filtering, lane splitting, we need to come at it from, hey, this is good for everybody. This isn't just good for motorcyclists. It's not just gonna be like, oh, here we go. It's gonna solve our problem of getting rear-ended and getting killed. No, it's not gonna solve the problem. It's gonna add different problems. It's gonna reduce that problem. It's gonna add different problems, and it's gonna be a wash. Hopefully, it's not gonna be a wash. Hopefully, it is gonna reduce a lot, but it's not, because we need to add in awareness to drivers, to other motorists. Hey, that we're lane filtering now. Are our roads specifically situated to allow lane filtering? Because some roads are really, really narrow, and that's going to be a big problem. And it's going to be at the discretion of the motorcyclists to see if they can make it or not. But we cannot come at it with, hey, it's going to reduce 31% of all these rear-end accidents and stuff. Let's focus on what's right. Let's focus on what we need to do. And if we're going to be focusing on lane filtering, then we need to understand that it's going to be a benefit for all. It's not going to be just a benefit for us. We can't come at it from that direction. And we can't think of that ourselves as motorcyclists, that we should be able to lane filter, lane split because it's safer for us. It's not. Guys, I need you to understand that it's not safer to lane filter than it is to sit in traffic. It's more of an inconvenience to sit in traffic. That's what it is. So now that we understand that, what's the safest way to lane filter, and what's the safest way to sit in traffic? That is the problem that we're running into as motorcyclists. So what's the safest way to lane filter? Utah has a very good way of doing it, and I fully agree with what Utah is. So let me go ahead and Utah lane filtering rules. Let me go ahead and go to that. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So I like the fact that I can have that down there so you guys can see what I'm doing. Oh, Adam Schubert, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, man. Really appreciate the support. Guys, if you want to become a YouTube member and chat with me today, click that link in the chat right there. Tuesdays we go over accident stuff, but today I want to go over a topic that I'm really passionate about. Okay, so May 14th, 2019, Utah lane filtering becomes legal. So I completely agree with this. So motorcyclists can only lane filter when speed limit on road is 45 miles per hour or less. So never on freeways. Now, okay, maybe I don't agree with it all 100%. Because on freeways, I think this right here, this first part should be removed. Because traffic can easily back up on freeways. Johnny Lee Walker, how you doing, man? How you doing? Cameron, I'll definitely get to that. That's why I jumped into this. So where to lane filter and how. This is what we're gonna get into right now. Belgium scares the bejesus out of me, but getting through is awesome. Yeah, exactly, Tiger. Exactly. I think Australia's laws for lane filtering would be a good place to start here in the U.S. Oh, let's look at that. We'll look at that after. Let me go ahead and write it down though. Australia lane filtering. And I prefer to use the term lane filtering versus lane splitting, because lane filtering to me sounds, there you go, sounds a lot nicer. It's like it's repackaging stuff. Exactly, LXP T Rider. Educate riders should be the top priority. Exactly, and that should be also when it comes to motorcycle helmets too. I think that should definitely be a priority. We could definitely jump into universal helmet law for next Thursday. So I want to get rid of this because on freeways and interstates, it does get backed up. It really does get backed up. And I think we should be able to lane filter on highways if the traffic is stopped. That's the biggest thing. So I think this should be changed to that. But I do agree with some of this stuff. So road must have 2 or more adjacent traffic lanes in the same path of travel. So this right here. So you have to have 2 lanes in the same path of travel. So what it's saying is that if it's just 1 lane of path of travel, you have a double yellow, and then another lane that's the opposite path of travel, you should not, or you cannot. It's not legal to lane filter. I completely agree with that, because if you're going around the double yellow to get around somebody to lane filter, that is extremely dangerous. So this is more of like a safety thing. I see where they're coming at. It's more of a safety thing. We're still within the path of travel. Motorcycles can only lane filter between stopped vehicles. So I agree with this. So I don't want the 45 mile an hour speed limit. I think it should just be this part. So whatever I have on screen, I think this is what should be it. On screen, this is what it should be. I believe it should be only stopped vehicles. I think the moment the vehicles start to move forward and they start to go forward, like within that lane, like they turn green and now everyone's starting to slowly make it in. If you're still in the middle of lane filtering, get in queue, get in line, whatever you guys want to call it. Get in line. Don't go all the way to the front and just continue going. Motorcycle speed cannot be more than 15 miles per hour when filtering. So this right here, a lot of people say, well, what the heck? Why can't I filter at a higher rate of speed? How come I have to go 15? How come I have to do this? Blah, 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 blah. What happens if everyone else is going 15? Well, then you're not supposed to do that anyways because it's a stopped vehicle. The 15 miles per hour, I talk about that all the time in the live streams and in my videos, is you need to be going slow. For one, it's going to help you out with your reaction time because you have the perception, reaction, braking time, or the perception and then reaction. So if you're going to swerve, then you have swerving time. But you need to have that because you need to be going slow enough to be able to react. You also need a good space cushion, but you don't have good space cushions when lane filtering. So now you're at the mercy of if somebody's going to sideswipe you, which we just saw a lot of the stats of sideswiping is very dangerous. So going slow is a safety thing that you should be doing anyways, and I'm glad they made that more of a law. They're giving us this benefit of reducing congestion and not sitting in line. Let's be nice about that. Let's not be those motorcyclists that are causing problems. Let's do what we're supposed to do safely, and let's follow the law so that maybe we can get something else on the books, you know? The movement may be made safely, exactly. So this right here. So yeah, lane filtering. You can't go over the double yellow. That's exactly it. Absolutely love it. So let's go over what Australia says. Let's see it, because there definitely needs... The thing is, the reason why there's a lot of states now doing the lane filtering thing is because Utah is able to pass it, so now there's a precedent. Let's see. Lane splitting filtering will be allowed as long as the motorcycle does not exceed 30 miles per hour and that the speed difference between the cars and the motorcycle is not higher than 12. I like that. We do have chaotic traffic on rush hours. If you don't do lane filtering, there's no point to commute with a motorcycle. Exactly. Yeah. In Arizona, like the point to commute is, I mean, just gas. Like if we're able to sell motorcycling is safer and better for commuting, then we need to add some of these things. Because gas is not the only thing. Because I wouldn't trade my miles per gallon for my safety. I really wouldn't. I'd drive this big ass crazy ass vehicle if I had to, in order to be 100% safe. Lane splitting filtering is only allowed between 2 leftmost lanes. Okay, for Belgium. Okay, so this says Queensland. Same direct. Yeah, so exactly what you said. Lane filtering is illegal if one of the lanes is dedicated turning lane. Okay. In a school zone during school hours, I agree with that. If you're a learner or provisional license, I agree with that. And we can talk about tiered licensing in the state of Arizona or in the United States in a different video, because I truly believe in tiered licensing. ABATE or ABATE, they don't agree with that, but they also don't agree with universal helmet laws. Those two I do agree with, based off of coming from a coach's perspective. In a bicycle lane. Okay. Yeah, same thing. So see, New South Wales, Victoria, all these different places have different things. So it's not a universal Australia thing. It's I believe it's a province, right? No, it's a state. State by state. So same thing. This is easily what could happen in the United States, is that each state's going to have their own different laws, and this is where it's very important to know which state you're in and which laws to follow. Let's go back to my face. Most seasoned riders do the same, ride on the most left lane. I wish most of the younger scooter guys learn and respect that. Yeah, that's education. And we could easily jump into, like I said, universal helmet laws, and we can talk about what was the other one, that universal helmet laws? Oh, and tiered system. Easily talk about that. And you go to the MSF range, it's required that you wear a DOT helmet. So, there's a reason for that. Because if you do fall down, even at slow speed, we do everything slow speed, and we require you to wear a helmet and closed-toed shoes that are good. So like no sneakers. Long sleeve shirt, that's minimum, because we don't expect our students to buy full gear before class. Gloves and pants that are jeans. No leggings, no nothing like that. It has to have some type of durability. And we provide helmet and gloves if the student doesn't have it. But why is that? Is because even at slow speed stuff, you hit your head, there's a good chance of having a concussion. It's not, and that's a traumatic brain injury. And that's not because, it releases liability. It really doesn't. The waiver itself releases liability. The waiver that you sign releases the liability to the range. And then on top of that, we have to have like $2 to $3 million insurance rates, or insurance for the range itself. So we already covered in that area. But at the end of the day, the MSF focuses 100% on safety. So there's a reason why you have to wear a helmet, a DOT helmet, because that's the minimum requirement in the state of Arizona and in the United States, in the states that have universal helmet laws. So that's what we're pushing for. So from a coach's perspective, I highly agree with having universal helmet laws. And then the tiered system would be like beginner rider class, beginner rider 2 class, advanced class, and you have the full endorsement. I absolutely agree with that. Europe and everywhere else does it. The United States is the only one that doesn't have a mod 1, mod 2. I believe it would really significantly reduce these fatalities and these injuries. But we have organizations out there that are pushing for lane filtering. You know what I mean? We have organizations out there pushing for lane filtering. And it's just the United States way. And I agree that I'm more libertarian than Republican or Democrat. I'm very center when it comes to a lot of these things, and fiscally responsible. Fiscally conservative. I'm a little bit more liberal on some things. But then I really push for like gun rights and all that stuff. We should have the right to choose. Basically, the consumer has the right to choose. But at the same time, when it comes to life safety, nobody bats an eye when it comes to the seatbelt laws that are out there. Nobody bats the eye. Motorcyclists have no problem passing a law to where you can't have your cell phone. So distracted driving. We're very against having a cell phone in your hand while you're driving, so we push to pass that law. But we're not here pushing to pass a law to keep us safe. We're pushing to pass a law to, pushing to pass a law for the distracted driving with the cell phone is to keep us safe, because that's what we see all the time. But then we're not pushing to pass a law to keep us 100% safe with helmets. So we're pushing to restrict the choice of car drivers to be able to be on their phones, right? In the name of safety. So why aren't we restricting motorcyclists in terms of choice of wearing a helmet in the name of safety? See, that's where I don't agree with a lot of these things. I don't agree with a lot of the people that say let's not have helmet laws, but at the same time they're saying let's make a law to where we can lane filter. Let's make a law to where we could do this and we could do that. You know, like let's not have any registration tax to help out with awareness. You guys understand that a lot of the taxes that you have on your registration, I'm going on a tangent here. A lot of the taxes you have on the registration when it comes to like those specialty taxes, like the public safety tax and all that stuff, a lot of organizations fight against that. The ABAT, ABOT, or whatever, they fight against having those taxes, but those taxes are what pays for scholarships for people to take MSF classes. Those funds go towards awareness and safety. And we're trying to reduce that, but at the same time we're trying to ask for things. So that's my biggest problem. And they talk about educating riders to wear full gear, wear a helmet, do this, take classes, but at the same time they're taking away the resources to do so. So that's one of the biggest problems I have. I have no problem paying extra taxes so that people can take motorcycle safety stuff. And then for you, I wish there was more punishment for texting. I see so many distracted drivers every day. I'm scared of them more than most things on the road. So that's the thing is we already passed the law. We already passed that law in the state of Arizona. It just became law in all of Arizona. Texting and driving, anything distraction, anything in your hands while you're driving. If you're at a stoplight, you can have your phone in your hand, but the moment it turns green, you have to have your phone out of your hand. So that is the state law. But we still see it all the time. There's not enough enforcement. There's absolutely not enough enforcement for that. It's very hard for a law enforcement officer to actually see that. And when they do, it's like, okay, well, it's a ticket. Now we're going to do it. So it's very hard for that. But when it comes to a helmet law, it's very easy to see a motorcyclist without a helmet. So that's very enforceable. So we start going into some of these issues when it comes to enforcement versus law versus this versus that. My biggest thing, the biggest takeaway I want you guys to take from this is the question of the day is, should lane splitting be legal? I absolutely believe lane splitting or lane filtering should be 100% legal. But why? It should be legal to reduce congestion, to save taxpayers money. Sitting in traffic, it's so much wear and tear on your car. Your time is important. Your time has a monetary value to it. And the emissions, the what else? The gas consumption, all that has a monetary value to it. So it's going to reduce that. So that right there already, if we just go with that, that's going to be so helpful. And also it's going to encourage car drivers or anybody coming of age to get a motorcycle because they know for a fact they can get to work faster, they can get home faster, they can get to where they need to go faster, they can lane filter. So now we have more motorcycles on the road. They're lane filtering, which is reducing more congestion because there's less cars on the road because there's more motorcycles. So now it's just this overall good situation. And I think that's what motorcyclists should be talking about. I don't think we should be talking about, in order to pass legalization of lane splitting, by saying, hey, we are not going to be rear-ended and killed. I don't think that's good enough. That should be added on top of the congestion. It should be reduce the congestion, taxpayer savings, blah, 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 blah. And then on top of that, representative lawmaker dude, it's also going to reduce fatalities for motorcyclists, which in and of itself has a monetary value in terms of accident scene investigation, litigation, loss of wages, and even if it's not fatalities, it's going to be, more of a burden on insurance companies, so higher insurance rates, burden on the healthcare system. So you start going into that aspect, and I believe that's what we should be fighting for. And then if we're going to be fighting that same way, if we're going to be like, it's going to be less of a burden on taxpayers and less of a burden on the healthcare system and on all that stuff, well, you can easily apply that to universal health law or universal helmet laws. It's going to be less of a burden on the taxpayers because now it's going to be less of a burden on the fatality rates, injury rates, and the healthcare system. So that is something to get a driver behind, is by saying we're going to wear a helmet because it's going to be safer. Statistically, it's going to be safer, and it's going to be better for the government and the taxpayer themselves. I think a lot of people, when they think about government, they think of just this bad person, the governor. But at the end of the day, it's taxpayers that are paying for all this stuff. So we need to talk about how it's going to save the taxpayer money. It's going to, at the end of the day, if I have to get a DOT helmet, you can buy a DOT helmet for $100. If you have a motorcycle and they require you to have a helmet, it's $100. What's the biggest problem here? So I could easily go on to the helmet law, universal helmet laws, and all that stuff easily. No helmet laws equals law of natural selection. Yeah. Problem is, at my country, if you have a car driver license, you are automatically entitled to legally drive a 125cc scooter. No lessons, no education whatsoever is mandatory. So you can imagine, oh yeah, so you're gonna have a lot of people, and probably the reason why they did that is because tourism. They don't want to have to put a burden on tourists to get a license to play around basically in your area. So tourism is a huge moneymaker for you, or in your area possibly. That's my best guess. So that's why they do. There's different reasons why people do different laws and make certain things. And I think the reason why we need to push for lane splitting, lane filtering in the state of Arizona and in other states is because it's going to be beneficial for everybody, not just motorcyclists. And then it's going to reduce rear end incidents at stoplights, but it's going to introduce side swiping. It's going to introduce other problems, possible road rage. So it's going to introduce other problems, and nobody wants to talk about that. But that's something that car drivers, which are state legislative people, lawmakers, mostly car drivers, they're going to say, why? You're going to jump in the queue, you're going to jump in the line, it's going to cause problems, maybe cause road rage, you're going to hit the side of the vehicles. So that right there, when you hear them say that kind of stuff, it's like sideswiping. Okay, sideswiping road rage incidences. Okay, how do we mitigate that? How do we solve that problem? Awareness. Have a huge educational program for a full year, maybe 6 months, 6 months to a year of advertisements. It changes in the curriculum for the MVD, the Motor Vehicle Division. All these different things. Have a full year. Because we've been doing it for, I don't know how many years so far. A full year of education for drivers to, this is what's happening. I think that's what we should do. I honestly think that. I think lane splitting should be legal. There should be an educational aspect to it when it comes to drivers and riders for 6 months to a year before it goes into effect. And then on top of that, I think in order for us to make it legal, we need to come at it from a different angle. I really do. And this is something I'm very passionate about, and I've actually been thinking about not necessarily starting a new lobbyist thing, but maybe joining a board of maybe ABATE if they would have me, or some type of something to where I can hopefully utilize what I know from hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of watching crashes, and then trying my best to be creative when it comes to what I'm teaching based off of stats. I'm very stat based. I don't just go with the trends. I talk about what is killing motorcyclists. What are your thoughts on the Revel moped sharing systems that's going on in New York? So they have that in California, and I think they just passed that in parts of Arizona, where it's like the scooter, like the moped stuff, the scooter, and there's some that even have seats. I mean, you go just as fast as a bicycle on those. That's the thing, is you go just as fast as a bicycle on those. And what I don't like is that in some states, in some areas, is that it's required to have a helmet for those things. But on these things, you don't have to have a helmet. So you can still get severely injured on those things. Once again, I think there needs to be better education when it comes to, and it's not up to the state on this point. It's going to be the corporation, like Revel. I think it's up to them. Oh, you're welcome, Adam. I appreciate it, man. It's up to them to educate the user, and I want there to be more enforcement from law enforcement to really punish the users that are using it wrong. But at the end of the day, it's a murky situation where a corporation comes in and offers this stuff, and now it's going to cause more workload, more taxpayer-funded workload in police enforcement. So that's going to be the biggest problem, I think, that's happening. And on top of that, people just like leave them on businesses and in the way, and you're not supposed to park them on sidewalks, but people still do. And then when the business owner wants to move it, there's this massive alarm that goes off. So I see how it's a big problem for businesses. Safety wise, I think that's gonna be a self-correcting problem. If there's gonna be a lot of fatalities, a lot of incidences, a lot of injuries, you're gonna see city councils saying no. You're gonna see a lot of city councils saying no, or there's gonna be an evolution of it to where it's gonna involve like a helmet, like maybe there's gonna be a helmet that's attached to the thing where it's on a bungee cord, so you have to put it on, but it doesn't leave the thing. When I was in Chicago this summer, I was surprised to see many riders without helmets. I'm so used to helmets that it looks weird seeing someone on the freeway with no helmet. Yeah, that's the thing, is like that's that whole right to choose. That's that right to choose thing, and I'm all for that. I really am all for that. But car drivers and the auto industry has zero right to choose whether or not to put seatbelts in their car. You know what I mean? So are we all against? I mean, who here doesn't ride? Which one of you guys don't ride without a seat or drive without a seatbelt? I personally wear a seatbelt before the vehicle even moves, and I make sure everybody in my vehicle has a seatbelt on, and I get pissed if they don't. I've seen firsthand what it does when you don't have a seatbelt, and I absolutely believe helmets are like of the same importance as wearing a seatbelt. It's not even close, actually. It's not even as important as wearing a seatbelt, because in a seatbelt you have the cage and all this other stuff. Seatbelt is one mechanism in a huge system of safety in a car. The helmet is only one mechanism, and you still have to have a crap ton of other stuff just to even mitigate some type of injury. I mean, wearing full gear, crashing at 30 miles per hour, you can still die. Crashing in a car at 30 miles per hour, yeah, you can still die, but it's going to be a way less chance. Way less chance. Oh, Lime Bird scooters. I mean, the 50cc Revel scooters, they have helmets in the lockbox. Oh, I've never seen those. Maybe they don't have that where I'm at. Because the helmets in the lockboxes, that we don't have that access. I like that idea, though. I really do. I've seen Revel. I've seen those, and I don't think they were 50cc then. Because I think the max speed limit on those, a lot of these things is like 12 miles per hour. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Honestly, my parents would take my car if they knew I drove without a seatbelt. Yeah. Tiger, seatbelt, heck yes, ATGAT in the car too, exactly. But that's kind of where I'm at. I'm surprised I actually filled out an hour with that. One big thing, guys, before you all leave, don't leave yet. One big thing, in 4 hours, I'm gonna be having dinner with the Yammy Noob. The Yammy Noob's in Tucson right now. We're gonna talk about tomorrow. We're gonna talk about this weekend. We have the meetup out here in Tucson. So if you're in Arizona or anywhere close to Tucson, Saturday from 10 to 12, so 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're gonna be having a meetup with Yammy Noob and I, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna be doing we're gonna do like a little meet and greet type thing, and I can't wait. Cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the reservation and all that stuff, and I'll be hanging out with him, seeing what we're going to do tomorrow. But I just want to talk to you guys about the lane splitting be legal or not legal. I want to say thank you to the 5 brand new YouTube members. I want to say thank you so much to the 5 new. So if I can scroll down just a little bit. Let me scroll down a little bit. So we got Cameron, Bradley, Jams Nana. I like that. I like it. Tiger, Adam, thank you so much for becoming YouTube members during the stream. So guys, Thursdays we do this, and it's a huge support. See, all this right here, all the stuff that I talk about, all the research, all the data, I do this for you guys. And if it wasn't for you guys' support, I wouldn't be able to. So if you like this type of stuff, if you want me to continue to doing it, please become a patron or a YouTube member. Really helps out tremendously. Tomorrow I'll have Walterific's podcast go up on After the Ride. Tomorrow, Nikki's Adventures. Nikki's my wife. We have a podcast going up. It's a lot of fun. Can't wait. Cannot wait. So guys, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this. Really appreciate it. Join the Discord. The Discord is absolutely free. Discord is free. Join the Discord. You don't have to be a YouTube member. You don't have to do any of that stuff. This is absolutely free. Join the Discord. Oh, I need to have a YouTube t-shirt. Yeah, you're right. Join the Discord, guys. This is live right now. Join up.